inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. Focusing on the lives, experiences, and viewpoints of motherlode women, the show features a rotating cast of 4 women of all ages and from all walks of life.
Good Monday morning, hot Monday morning, so keep cool today. Hey, good morning and welcome to Just Between Us. I'm Sharon Stanley. Grab your coffee because you're in for a ride today. I think we have 3 lively women and some fun topics. And you know what we're going to do. We're going to pick a topic and talk about that, and you never know what we're going to say. So I'll let the morning goddesses introduce themselves.
I'm Susan Manning.
I'm Susan Underwood from Volcano.
Leslie Vasquez from Pine Grove.
Okay, ladies, let's jump right into this. Okay, we're going to pick 2 topics, and on each card is a topic and subtopic. 4.
Just for thought, who is the greatest love of your life?
Oh,
and
this is way too easy.
It better be easy.
Yeah.
And the next one?
And the second one?
Sports.
1.
Sports you've played.
Okay.
Great.
Well, grab your coffee again and join us. And if you need a little fan to keep cool, grab a fan too. So we'll see you in a minute.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. And now back to Just Between Us.
Hi, welcome back to Just Between Us. I'm Sharon, and we've got 2 great topics, so let's just jump right in.
Okay, the first one is just for thought, and who is the greatest love of your life?
Well, mine is my hubby still. We're going to have our 35th wedding anniversary in a couple weeks, and he's my first, and he better be my last. But my first baby. You know, I was one of those ladies that didn't want to have kids, ended up getting pregnant by accident, and I think it was, you know, like the will of God, because he knew that there was no other way that was going to happen. And I was really scared while I was pregnant, and, you know, I didn't really know what was happening, and I sort of didn't want to have it. But once I saw him, it was just like, oh, how could I not? You know, he was yummy.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, my greatest love of my life is my husband, Stephen, and my children and my grandkids. Absolutely, I agree. I mean, I think that they're, you know, your parents and your grandparents, you love them, but when you find that right person and that person to share things with, and your trust, the respect, the fun, you know, your most intimate moments are with that person, you can't take that away.
Yeah.
You know, that's everything.
You know what I think about mostly is the fun that we've had and the goofy things that we've laughed about, and you know, those
and just you know about them.
Yeah, and nobody else would get it anyway.
Right.
And we don't have a lot. My husband and I, love of my life is my husband too, but we don't have a lot in common. But I find that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter with him. But some interesting things happened when I met him. Before that, I was never jealous of guys I was dating. After I started up with this one, I became jealous of that. And then when I had a daughter,
jealous of other women around him?
Jealous of other women around him. He's in he's in a band, he's on stage, and people, for some reason that makes you 10 times cuter when you're on stage. So
well, we were talking about what Johnny Depp and
Johnny Depp,
Richards,
for some reason it makes him more attractive. But and then when I had my child, you know, years later, I had my first child, and the jealousy went away. So it's kind of interesting. It was kind of almost like, well, I have her now, and I have another love that feels as big, if not bigger, than the love I feel. You can't compare. They're different.
Yeah, they are.
But, you know, I'm thinking, my theory is that maybe because now that I have another idea of what love can be, I'm not jealous anymore. So it's kind of interesting.
So you don't care if ladies throw panties?
No.
If they're her size, why not?
Add to my wardrobe. No, so, I mean, you know, of course, if he had an indiscretion, that would be different. But, you know, I no longer have these fears that are based on nothing, really. They're based on my own fears. You know, they're not based in truth. So.
No, that's what jealousy is, pretty much.
Right.
It starts off that
way. Yeah. So he's never done anything to make me wonder.
And how long have you guys been married?
We've been together 16 years. We've married 10. So, yeah. so interesting.
long
But
time.
and then he always jokes, because there's always the Johnny Depps that you dream about, and, and the Brad Pitts, and the and for me, for some reason, Tom Skerritt does it for me.
I think he's really cute.
Yeah.
I kind of like unusual looking guys myself.
Yeah.
Well, what about you?
What about you?
Who's your greatest love?
That's my husband also, and we're nothing alike. And I find that that's wonderful, particularly since I have to work with him every day, and it's a great balance. You know, he is wonderful in embracing change, and I don't like change, and so he pushes me along, and we do wonderfully together. And he's my best friend. You know, like you said, you can tell him anything, and you've shared so much together. And we don't have children. I love children, so my animals are my children, and we've taken in so many rescued animals, and they're like family.
They are. They become your children.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
That is for
I
sure.
have 2 dogs that I just love. They're my babies because my babies are gone.
Yeah.
Right, you get that empty nest syndrome, and then they fulfill.
Yeah.
But pets, animals can become the love of your life, especially if you're alone, and all you have is animals. You know, you're a single person, you're alone, and that animal becomes a love that and gives you so much joy, and they love so unconditionally. It's great. I was lucky because when Steve and I got married, I had 2 children from a previous marriage. Stephen never had children, and he brought his dog to the marriage, and I brought the girls to the marriage. And it was wonderful. It was a family of 5. I mean, it was great, and the girls respected him, and they got along. Their father and Stephen get along, so it was great, and that helped me love him even more, because he brought out better things in me and made me a better person, and that's why I respect and love him so much too.
And how long have you guys been together?
It'll be in October. It'll be 20 years.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, 20 years.
We're all long timers. Now, how long have you guys been together?
We've been married for 16 years, together for about 18.
Bunch of long timers here, huh?
Yeah.
And luckily, we all said that our husbands were the greatest love of our lives.
Yes, because if when we get home, we'll have to pay the dues. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I never had any serious boyfriends before I met my husband. I met him when I was 18. Actually, I didn't date in high school. Nobody asked me out.
Nobody asked me out either.
Was the matter with
I didn't
me.
date either until college, and then I was bombarded, so I felt okay. But I thought it was the most ugly duckling. I mean, I just thought it was horrendous.
I did too. So, you know, I didn't have a lot of boyfriends, but my husband I think I waited for the right guy.
Yeah.
He's just everything. And we don't have a lot. I mean, we have a lot in common, but we're so different too. I'm the typical Leo, and he's the typical Taurus. So it's like I'm out there, and he's like grounded, but it's good,
Right.
Because it works.
Yeah, it does work, because when you have one in the relationship that is grounded, it allows the other one to play a little bit more,
Exactly.
and vice
then when you get
versa.
too far up, they can just go, okay,
They rope you
you
right
need
back
to rethink
in.
this.
Yeah.
We need to change topics, and I believe the other one was sports.
Sports, and sports that you've played. Sports you've played.
I wasn't a big sports player.
I was in track and cross country, and I've got like 20 medals from winning races.
Wow.
I used to run with the boys because I was faster than the girls, and because my dad was the boys' coach, and so he insisted I run with the boys. But what happened was I'd get too burnt out, because he actually made me run both workouts, the girls and the boys' workout. And so I would stay up with the front pack of boys, but and kind of be in the middle of them in the races and things. But by the time the race day came, I'd hit my best times during the week, and then the race day came, and I would usually not do as well on race day.
Because you were tired?
Because I was tired and burnt out, and I wasn't there mentally. He was a great coach for other kids, but for his own kid, it was a little too much pressure for me. So,
But isn't that true?
And and in fact, on days that were snow days, he'd say, "Oh, just go out and have fun. You know, you're not going to do a good race today because of the weather." And I'd go out there and do my best time ever and break records. And so, you know, I do best time for everybody on that day because the pressure was off.
Right.
So I didn't keep with it in college. I kind of backed off and didn't do it anymore. But it was fun, and it was too much pressure. So it was too much.
Well, did you win the awards while competing with the boys?
I did.
That's really amazing.
I do very well with the boys group, but in track you don't run the same races. You have girls race and boys race. In cross country we would run the same race together.
See, I would have wanted to run girls' races and win all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I run with the boys and come in the middle. No!
Yeah. I'd be like in the middle pack of the front runners of the boys. So, but the girl, it would be the fastest girl. So, or the other, see, and I grew up in Nevada. So in California, when we'd run races there would be faster women, faster girls out there. But for Nevada, it's a smaller place. So
that's pretty
there's
amazing.
not as much competition.
I'm impressed.
But well, don't be too impressed. Like I say, it's just Nevada.
But you won all those medals. I think that's great.
That is
I have them. I don't know what to do with them. They're just collecting dust.
It's okay.
You should put them in a little shadow box or something
Give
and have
it to
them
your
hanging
daughter,
out.
to your children
I could give
someday.
them to my
Divide them,
daughter.
and when you have other children, you can divide them and give them.
And I consider riding horses a sport, and I used to ride horses, and I was in
yeah.
shows, and I didn't do so hot, but I did. I have a box of ribbons left over, from that. But you probably did. You used to do that?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I used to ride Western, and I think the thing that I enjoyed most was playing racquetball.
Oh.
Because it was such a good workout. And just before I had my accident, I went windsurfing, and that was so much fun.
I bet that
Oh, yes, because you got going so fast once you got up and got going.
So you were actually able to get up.
I was actually able to get up, and I was so glad.
I've tried it.
I was so glad. The gal that I was with was a physical fitness teacher.
Oh, wow.
And she never got up. And I got up and was going.
That's great.
Good for you.
Yeah, I used to get up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
I never got up.
In college, I actually took some classes in sports. I took surf. I got credits for surfing in college. And so I took kayaking.
Cool. Like,
I know. So we surfed and we kayaked and I did crew for college credits. So it
that's
was kind of
hard.
I went to San Diego State for a while, so that's
crew
is very hard.
Difficult.
It's every muscle in your body, they say,
bet.
and it is very difficult.
Now, is that the rowing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
it's
wonderful. I
dynamite.
almost joined the team, but then I was dating a kayaker, and he said, no, you got to do kayaking. So then I just did kayaking after that. But it was fun. I loved it, and I kind of regret not joining the team because it would have been something I think I would have really loved.
Yeah.
And then, and kayaking is
and that's
typical,
so
too.
hot in the Olympics now. The crew is just, that's the sport out there.
Yeah.
On the water. It's unbelievable.
And that must be extra hard for women because they don't have the upper body strength that the men do.
A lot of it's leg.
Yeah.
Because
that's true.
the first
Pushing
part is the pushing of the leg. If you're doing the form right, if your form's correct. Then
And does the seat go back? Is
Yes,
that what it
the
is?
seat
'Cause
moves
the
back
first
and
time I
forth.
saw it, I thought that woman was going to fall out of the... Oh my God, they're going to lose her. Then it dawned on me, the seat's moving back and forth. It was like, oh my. Because that would have been me. I would have flipped right out. I was not good at sports at all. In high school, you had to play tennis and the soccer and this and that and practically get your teeth knocked out. But I love to watch sports. I'm a big sports fanatic, but playing them, I'm not. I was just clumsy, just duh.
I love to run, but I never was on a track team. When I was younger, like in junior high, I lived down in Santa Barbara County, and they had what they called the Junior Olympics then.
Yes.
And I entered a bunch of different things and actually won some little awards for the county.
Good.
This says something about my personality that I'm not proud of, and I have to say that it's not necessarily this way now, but I won a 3rd place award for overall county. I was embarrassed. I won a first place. I won a first place. That made me happy. 3rd place, I was embarrassed. And now I think of it, I'm thinking,
you should be proud of yourself.
I know.
That's great.
That is great.
But I love to run, and I water skied a bit.
Oh, yeah, I water skied a lot.
But they drugged me around for years before I could get. Nobody told me to push your heels down. So I was being drugged around with water.
I used to
went in and out.
We used to water ski from Cave Rock all the way across Tahoe to Emerald Bay. It was 10 miles, and I was a kid. And I loved it, but it was cold water, and we didn't have wetsuits back then. They had them out there. We just didn't use them back then for the lakes, and so. But then that reminded me. We used to do water skiing, a lot of water sports, and that sort of thing. There was another sport, and I lost it now, but there was some.
Well, we need to choose 2 more topics.
Okay. Okie dokie, Leslie. Driving. Who are better drivers, men or women?
Yikes!
Let's get a good one here.
They're not here to defend themselves.
Friendships. How do you tell your friend that they are making a bad decision?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, y'all grab your second cup of coffee and join us in a few minutes and find out what we have to say.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. And now back to Just Between Us.
Hi, welcome back to Just Between Us. All right, let's do it.
Okay, the first one is driving. Who are better drivers, men or women?
I'm a pretty good driver. I haven't had an accident yet.
Yeah, my husband would say he's a better driver.
So would mine, yeah.
I tend to do like 10 things at once. I'm brushing my teeth and, eating and, driving at the same time. And he's like, "Duh, stop doing that." And I've tried to cut down on
Brushing
that.
your teeth while you're driving?
Yeah.
Okay. Demerits right there.
I know, so I've really tried not to do that and trying just to drive
I
when I'm
want to know
driving.
how she rinses and spits.
It's not as hard as it
down.
would think. Yeah, the window's down, or you can, well, I can explain it. You can have like a cup in the car and like a spittoon. So you take your water bottle, you rinse, and you.
I've seen men shaving, and I've seen women put on makeup.
Oh
and
my
that's
gosh,
shame on both.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Shame on both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't talk on the phone and drive, so
Yeah.
I
the phone I can't do. I do pull over if I have to use the phone in the car. I can't do that and drive for some reason. But yeah, and I'm like I say, I'm trying not to do that anymore. Especially having a child in the car, I don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't do it. I just go.
That reminds me when my kids were younger, we bought a Porsche. And I put the kids in. We didn't have car seats 30-some years ago,
That's
so
right.
I put the kids in the back, and went on this really windy road, and I was going as fast as I could possibly go, not thinking a thing about it. And I was 19 years old, 20 years old, and now I think about it, I think,
Yeah.
I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
That's just not me.
Yeah.
So I have scared my husband a few times. I wasn't scared, but apparently he was.
Yeah.
And I think I scared my mother-in-law yesterday. I kind of did a U-E into a gas station that she didn't expect me to do. It wasn't illegal or anything. It was just very quick, and she was kind of hanging on like this.
Yeah, when they go, you know that you've been driving erratically. My husband, though, he puts his brakes on not soon enough for me. So I'm always like jamming
I'm
on
one
the
of those
brake.
brakes. Yeah.
Because
That's
I'm
me.
worried we're going to hit the car in front of us, especially if we have brakes that aren't so great and we need a new brake job or something. And I'm like, okay, these
So do you brake for him when you're
I sit
driving?
there and go, yes, I do.
I do that too. My husband he does a lot of driving in his business, so he will tell you that he's the better driver. But there are times where he's, oh, look at that over there, and it's like, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do, especially when he's on his Harley. He does that, and I just cringe. I tighten up, and he can feel me tighten up in the back. It's like when you are on that, watch the road, because I'm so afraid of the other person.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, well, we were 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were at one of the grocery stores here, and all of a sudden there was a bunch of commotion out front. A motorcycle pulled out, and somebody had hit him. It wasn't his fault. It was somebody else.
That's happened 2 or 3 times already up here this year.
Yeah.
And I get in the blind spot sometimes, and that's why I tell Stephen, never pass. Just stay there, because you never know.
Yeah.
Someone doesn't see you in their blind spot, and boom, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think the maturity of the person driving the car, and like I say, I do stupid things sometimes, like change the CD or do this or that, and I have to learn that. You've just got to stop that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my husband's a really good driver, so I pretty much trust him, except, like you said, he's looking around too much. Like, we'll be on a trip, and he'll notice things that I don't notice because I'm watching the road, even though I'm a passenger. I'm not a backseat driver, but I'm watching the road. And he's noticing, like, the deer over in the side. How did you know that? You should be looking at the road.
Right. I brake. Susan, what about you, dear?
Well, I drive too fast. I drive with my hands because of my disability, and I know that I drive too fast.
Yeah.
And I think it shocks people, when they see me with the walker and then they see me driving. Kind of funny.
Oh, no.
That's how you get your
driving.
Here she comes. Yeah, here she comes.
Yeah. But it's actually easier to drive with your hands than it is with your feet, because, your brain to your hand is closer.
Really?
And so, you go in for the brake and down for gas. And so it really is.
So everything
quite
is
simple.
right there on the column for you, on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
I drive a little too fast. I must admit. I hope the cops aren't watching. But I'm not saying what kind of car I drive.
Sharon Stanley, capital S-H-A-R.
Shut up.
Yeah, well, my husband used to drive trucks, and so he was really good at maneuvering, but it just so happens, and I'm sure he's a great driver if we had to be tested or something, but it just so happens that, like, every time I get a new car, the first dent in it is him hitting something, you know, like a tree or back, or just something.
That's Stephen too.
Yeah, and so I always have to point that out.
I have to. When you said
to him when he complains about my driving.
It was so funny because Steve traded. I take his beat up truck and he has the new car. So last week we traded, and because he brought some wood home for the fireplace. So anyway, I came out of the store, and I was looking around and I go, oh my God, somebody took the truck. So then I'm looking for my truck for about 10 minutes, and it says, oh, I have the car this week. So then it dawned on me. So I went home and I walked in the house and I said, okay. I said, I'll admit it. He goes, what's the matter? And I said, I would have been home 15 minutes earlier, but I lost the car. He goes, what do you mean you lost the car? I said, I forgot I was driving the car, and you had the truck. And I said, I feel like an idiot. And he just said, well, if the shoe fits, honey.
I lost my car at the parking lot at the airport.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Yeah.
Because I didn't write it down.
But in Rayleigh's? I mean, I don't think so.
Well, we need to change topics here.
We are going to go with friendships.
I like that one.
I do too. And how do you tell your friend that they are making a bad decision?
I think it depends on how close the friend is. I have a friend that we've been best friends since high school. I could definitely just come out and say it, but with other friends,
you kind of
you have to tread around it.
You have to tread on ice. You feel like you're treading on thin ice, and then you're always waiting for when you say what you have to say, even if it's tactfully. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. So you know.
Well, I try to not tell them how to do it, what to do on any. I try to say instead, have you thought about what if this happens?
Yeah.
And I try to just put up,
just
put up the other side or another option that might happen, and say, have you thought about that? And what do you think about that? What is your opinion on this, or what is your plan if this happens? And so that, I think, that also reminds me, I don't know it all.
Yeah.
And it's their decision, and it's not mine. And so I try to do it that way.
You're right. And a lot of times too, I'll say, okay, think about this. What would be the worst case scenario if you did this?
Yeah.
What would be the ramifications of your actions?
So you're not really giving advice. You just want them to think
about it.
That's what I like to do too. I don't want to give anybody
advice. There's been a few people I've come out and said, oh boy, you know what? I really think you should think strongly about that, because wonder if A, B, and C happens.
Well, it depends on the situation.
Yeah,
It depends on the friend. It's not.
Sure.
Sure. My sister was in an abusive relationship for a while, and I had to intervene. And I said, I don't know if I should or not, because it's not my place, it's none of my business. And my husband said, well, what do you think might happen? And I said, I do think he might kill her. And he said, if that happens, how will you feel? I said, I will feel responsible if I don't step in. So I stepped in, I intervened, I moved in with them, and worked with her, and eventually she did leave him, and she's okay, but he stalks her now and stuff, so she's but then she got self-defense, so she's a 6-time black belt now, and she's married to a master.
And he's still stalking her?
Yeah, occasionally he'll still stalk her. So
they need to get a restraining order.
It's going to be the rest of the life. Her life is that she'll have to be on guard.
Well, does she appreciate you coming in and
she does.
intervening?
I feel, after the fact, I intervened too much, and she doesn't feel that. She's thankful for her life that I did.
Well, not only that, she met a man now that is there, that is not abusive, and she's probably...
And they say they often go back to the same type of guy, so she did go through like 8 years of therapy before she got into another serious relationship.
My sister's done that. She was in an abusive relationship. It wasn't necessarily physical. I mean, he was doing pushing and stuff, but it was mostly emotional. So she finally divorced him after 16 years, and every guy she's been with since then has been him in a different body. And I do have to come out and say, you are really being stupid here. You really need to be thinking about this. And she's kind of thinking about it, but I don't know why she's so dense about it. But with my sister, that's different. That's not like a friend.
What about you, Susan?
Well, I always jump right in. I always feel like the greatest compliment you can give a friend is to be honest with them. And there have been times when my husband has said, oh, you shouldn't do that, particularly with family. But, I always feel like I would want to know when there's a situation where I'm making a bad decision or there's something that I need to know and people aren't being upfront. So I really firmly believe in being honest, and that's a really big compliment. People won't always love you for it, and you can be diplomatic, and I like your idea of, you know, trying to kind of walk around it and steer them in the right direction, but I'm sort of like a boom.
Well, my husband did that. He jumped in with his sister. She started to date one of his friends who was a player. And so he stepped in and said to her, you know, anybody else would have dated him and I wouldn't do this, but you're my sister, I have to tell you, this guy's a player and this is what he's done. This is his pattern with all these women. And she got angry at my husband, wouldn't talk to him or me for years, and, you know, was very upset. And eventually, it took that long. That was this guy's way of doing things, and eventually it happened, and sure enough.
So then did she come back and apologize or anything?
No, but she did come back and start talking to us again, and she didn't actually come out and say I'm sorry, but she told us the problems that she was having with them, and she did, say, please keep telling me your opinions.
It's hard sometimes. It's hard to hear the truth, especially if it's a family member or a friend, because I think we've all been there, and you put up that defense, and you don't want to hear it, but then and I'm the type of person that when I go to bed or whatever, I keep replaying, and it eats at me.
I do that too,
and it's not good, But
I appreciate honesty, like you were saying, having somebody come up.
I do too.
In a tactful way, saying, you really need to think about something. And my husband is so good at that. Like I said earlier, he's the one that sort of, keeps me grounded and keeps my head from being in the clouds as much as they could be, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, and
sometimes it's hard, but
sure, it is hard. But I agree with Susan. I think that's great, and I know a lot of us like to massage and walk very lightly. But sometimes if you know that person well enough and they are a good friend, like Susan said, just come out and say it and let the cards fall where they may.
Now, when it's your husband and you're giving him advice about a decision.
Sometimes I think that's easier because I think so, because that person knows you, and they're your rock at Gibraltar, and it's like, I'll do that with Stephen. I'll say, now I don't want to hurt your feelings, but
you also know how to do it that's not going to get him upset.
Right, because he treats me with he treats me with respect and tells me things with respect, and in turn I do the same to him.
We need to go on to 2 more topics.
Okay.
So, Susan, what shall they be?
Okie dokie. Family conflicts. Number 4, forgive and forget. Is it easier said than done?
Okay.
And the next one is working place etiquette. Number 2, how to get along with a coworker.
All right. Well, I'm sure most of you have been with a coworker at one point, so you have an opinion on this too. So join us in a few minutes and find out what ours is.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. And now back to Just Between Us.
Hi, welcome back to Just Between Us. I'm Sharon Stanley. I'll let the ladies introduce themselves again.
I'm Susan Manning from Pine Grove.
I'm Susie Underwood from Volcano.
I'm Leslie Vasquez from Pine Grove.
Okay, ladies.
Yeah, the first one. Family conflicts. Forgive and forget. Easier said than done. Oh, you bet.
Okay, do tell.
Being full-blooded Italian, and you have that vendetta, for a long time. I don't know. It is kind of hard. It depends on the situation, obviously, and the people involved and whatever. I mean, you have to build a big scenario for that. But I'm the type of person that I can say I forgive, but I don't forget things, and that's bad with me. It's hard for me to let something go.
For me, it depends on the situation. I never used to carry a grudge. Once somebody apologized or whatever, I was pretty much over it. But there still is that little residual thing that you're kind of like. I have a sister who I absolutely can't trust. She doesn't live here, so she's never going to see this. She has lied her whole life and, done some really bad things to all of us personally in the family. And we can forgive her, but it's really hard to forget because it's going to happen again. She'll be good for a couple of years, but you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. So forgiving and forgetting are two different things.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's
very, very hard.
Yeah. My husband used to forgive everything immediately and forget. he just, and I was the one holding the grudges, and remembering and everything. And so I'm learning from him how to forgive. And but for me, I feel too vulnerable if I forget. So I feel like I have to remember so that I can protect myself and just keep people at arm's length.
But I don't think you need to forget once you forgive, because there is that protection thing there.
Right.
To forgive to me is like letting it go for yourself, so you're not walking around with this big burden.
Right.
But you have to keep in mind that something has happened, and it might not happen again.
Especially if it's a betrayal or something like that, or your spouse is cheated, or something had happened. I don't care what they say. You're not going to forget that.
No.
You're never going to forget something like that. Or if a best friend has betrayed you beyond belief, that is never going to leave your mind.
Well, you can still forgive, and then you still don't have to have anything else to do with it. But for me, forgiving is for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
It just takes that huge weight in the head,
and it makes you feel better, and it makes the other person feel better, and you can
even if they don't know you've forgiven them, it's taken it off of you.
It's really hard. It's really hard because this one person that we know had hurt my husband and I, and used us and things like that, and then it was one of his cousins, and it was a best friend of his and things, and he was ready to forgive him right away, and I was like, no, and it's hard though now, because years later I'm now more open to talking to him if we happen to cross his path, which we haven't, but if we cross his path again, I'm willing to talk to him now again, and I really miss him. I really miss his input in our lives, and I miss his personality. I miss the laughter.
So then you have to decide how much you're going to let him into your life.
Yes.
And that's another hard decision.
It's very hard,
because you're not going to trust him again.
Right.
Well, I have an aunt who really did me wrong a few years ago. My grandfather died and left my brother and I a lot of money, but she was the executor. And right before she died, she just happened to get everything transferred into her name. And then it was set up in the will that everything that any account that had her name on it automatically went to her. Well, this whole time that my grandfather was, the last few months, she was acting like she was just the sweetest, nicest person to me and my brother, and just lovey-dovey. And then we find out that she did this, and it was stunning. It wasn't the money necessarily that was so horrible.
It was the betrayal.
It was a horrible betrayal,
right.
And I really felt like I was set up. I have forgiven her for that, but I never want to see her again, ever.
I don't blame you. Susan, what about you, dear?
I think forgiving is wonderful. It is somewhat for you, but forgetting, it's wise not to forget so that you can protect yourself.
Exactly.
I have a brother who always uses me, and one of the things that I learned, financially, was when I give him something, I actually give it to him. I never loan him anything because I never expect to get it back, and that way I'm done with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing too, because my mom used to give things, and there was always conditions.
Yeah.
And so my husband said, no, be prepared for when you give something, they can do whatever they want with it, and that's okay. It's their decision.
It feels so much better to do that, but there's a lot of people that like that control, like my parents, when they do some really wonderful things, but there's always those strings attached.
That's right.
They expect certain things.
If you don't give it back the way that they want it given back, it's not necessarily the money or whatever, they're going to not be very happy.
Right.
So you always have to be prepared for that, too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my mom feels that if she gave something, that she should have a say in our lives.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people do that, because I want that control.
Yeah,
that's why my parents do it.
There's always that hidden agenda of the control. I'll do this, I'll do that, but remember, without saying anything, this is what you're going to do in return.
Right.
We need to move on to the next topic.
Workplace etiquette and how to get along with a coworker.
Well, I always worked with my husband, who was very easy to work with, until recently I took a little part-time job, and I've never worked with women before, and I had heard stories, women don't get along, but these women are fantastic. But I did find that I had to tread lightly in certain situations, that I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. And there was a little bit of an education, although they were really nice about it, but I really had to think. Because I was just like, oh, here we go, let's do it this way, and, this is a good way. And they'd been doing it their way for a long time, and I had to step back a little bit and think, okay, just stop.
But that's our person. I'm the same way. I have the same personality. trait that you do in that. You just want to be helpful. You just feel that, you're so used to going out there and doing it yourself that that's the way your personality is. And that's not a fault. That is a blessing.
But you have to
learn to hold back.
that.
Right.
In consideration to other people's feelings.
Right. And that's the key to the whole thing, is you just have to learn to appreciate their point of view. You are co-workers. You're not family. You're not married to the person, and you just try the best that you can in that short time that you are. I mean, you do actually, when you think about it, if you work full-time with someone, you're working with them. You're with them more than you are with your family.
I was just going to say that.
And so you really have to, it becomes it becomes a relationship that sometimes maybe you don't want to be in. You go, you do your job, and you go home.
And you can't get a divorce, darn it.
No.
You work with
and you watch them walk through the door, and your jaw clenches, and you think, oh, they're here.
That can make or break a job for me.
You betcha.
It totally can make or break it. So I can have the worst job, but have really fun people that I work with and love the job just because of that. Or I could have the best duties in my job and hate it because
of the people you deal with.
Right, and there's nothing more uncomfortable, I don't think, is to work with someone that you don't have a good time with, or you don't respect, or they're constantly undermining you. I worked with a few people that were like that, and it was very, very uncomfortable. And it makes it rough for the rest of us that are working together as a unit that don't have these hidden agendas.
Right.
You don't go in with these things in your mind to do.
I really respect those who can work with their husbands, because that's amazing. I have trouble
mine was
working
easy to work with, and obviously yours was too.
Well, he is, but we're so different that it does make it difficult, and sometimes we just have to duke it out in front of other people.
Really? You never had to do that.
Well, I don't mean physically, but we will argue, and I think that's healthy in a relationship.
Sure.
I also think one of the critical things in working with other people is being very honest and open, and I hate the talking behind the people's back. And recently I had someone who kind of started this up, and so I went right to them and started talking, and they said, well, I was afraid of ruining our relationship, so I didn't think I could come to you. Well, how are you going to improve things if you don't come to me? Sometimes people are very afraid of confrontation, and so they won't come tell you. They'll tell 2 or 3 other people.
But they don't realize that just makes it worse.
Oh, of course it does.
Especially when you find out about it.
Yes, of course it does. But I think, that's kind of common, and it's difficult to get people sometimes to be very open and honest.
I think some people want to practice what they're going to say with other people, too. Unfortunately, if everybody knows each other, it's gossip. It's not going to the person and being up front. So
that's one good thing I found about the little job that I have. I shouldn't say the little job. I don't mean it demeaning, but it's just a part-time job. But the women don't talk about each other behind, other than saying really nice things. And again, I was surprised because I didn't know what it was going to be like working with women. And shame on me for listening to all the old wives' tales about women not getting along. I mean, shame.
It's the same thing with the women that are here on the show. There is not one person that has ever come on this show. I mean, everybody gets along. It's great. It's warm.
That's why it's so much fun. For all of you out there, please, join us. But that's why it's
absolutely, because it is a lot of fun, and there is such a warmth, and there's such a caring for each other that it's great. It really is.
Yeah, it's fun.
So any other co-worker stories?
I can't put them on camera, no. But, oh, yes, I have a few.
I've seen some people work together that didn't work well together. And, of course, you can't step in, but you just let that kind of work its way out. But like you said, it's very uncomfortable for people around you if 2 of the co-workers aren't getting along and they have to work together side by side daily.
Right.
And then that makes it worse, too, if they're talking, to other people.
And sometimes they can come up. They could be the most dynamite team. But they just don't like each other. But at work, they're the best team on God's green earth. I mean, they can just come up with ideas. And I'm sure that there are a lot of composers, a lot of playwrights, a lot of
my brother's
people out there.
Artist, and he goes, I would not want to work with him, but he's an artist, and he has this hot temper, and he likes to get into it with people. He's, like I've mentioned before, a devil's advocate in the conversation, trying to bait people. But I think that feeds his creativity, and he's an awesome artist. He's excellent, and he gets.
So he just likes that turmoil and the drama going on all the time.
Yeah,
and it out on his art.
He's able to create and come up with new ideas and concepts and things like that, and new ways of doing things that win awards. And so.
Well, ladies, guess what's next? Hot Topics. Join us in a couple minutes, and we will jump right into a hot topic.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. And now back to Just Between Us.
Hi, welcome back to Just Between Us. Hey, if this looks like fun for you, it really is, and we'd love for you to join us. Honestly, this is great. Once you're up here, you don't seem like you're in front of cameras or anything. You're just sitting around talking like girlfriends. So please join us. We'd love to hear what you have to say, and it's always fun to see new people up here. So if you have any interest at all, please call us at 223-4877. Or if you have any ideas for topics, we would absolutely love to hear your ideas because we're always looking for topics. So you can email us at tspntv.com, and maybe you will hear what we have to say about what you want us to talk about. So please do. So hot topic time. Would you please read what it is?
Yes. Athletes' use of performance-enhancing drugs are changing the American view of sports stars. Do you feel that this is a major problem, or are critics making too big of a deal of their bad choices?
I don't think they're making too big of a deal about it. No. These people are being held up as role models. And I think that's really a shame to not only the youth, but to everybody. Why should these people be held up as role models if they're doing something illegal?
And plus, it's killed people.
Right.
It's been proven. It's caused brain cancer and a few other things. Why would you want your kids to think that this is the best thing to do for them to enhance their body and take steroids and to do all this? They're putting poison in their body.
Yes, they are.
Even if it's not illegal, even if it's prescribed, I'm offended, and I really am disappointed when I hear Arnold Schwarzenegger did that, or somebody else had done that, because I really believed in them having the strength on their own.
Right.
And I thought, wow, isn't this great what our bodies can do and accomplish? And then I've heard that they're on steroids, and it was like...
But Leslie, like some of them, and I don't know about the governor, but some of them, they were told, take this supplement, it's good for your body, it's in these nutritions and this and that. And all behind the scenes, they wanted this person to be the biggest, the better, the best, the baddest, because it was putting money in their pocket too.
Yeah.
So they were using this person as a token. And I'm not defending the governor, but I'm just saying, maybe this is what he felt at the time.
Well, no, he knew what he was doing. He's admitted it. So he knew that what he was doing was what
And
he
if at the time he made a poor choice and he comes out and he says, I'm sorry, that's great. That's great. I'm still disappointed that it wasn't him. I was hoping it was him doing those things, not the steroids.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Well,
and I think we all do that.
Another thing, too, is it's a shame that all these records are being broken by people on the steroids instead of breaking them naturally. So should they even stand, those records? Right,
and then look at on the last going above Congress. Paul Merrow got up there and said, I have never taken steroids and blah, 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 blah. And then come to find out, well, then who put them in your mouth? Or injected them or whatever, how they do it. So the thing is that it is being used. It is running rampant. My concern is the high school and college age children that are doing it, and because they still are children at that age.
And apparently the coaches, or not all coaches, but some coaches are closing their eyes to some of this because they want their teams to win or they want their athletes to be the best. And
I understand the pressure when you're that kind of an athlete, because you need to get endorsements and you need to win and you need to do things. The pressure is incredible, and I can't relate to that because I've never been that good at anything. So
when you're at any venue or any sort of competition, there is that. You do want to win, and when you look around and see some of the other people doing it, that they have the edge, that's a horrible temptation. Of course, you're doing it because you want to win, so you have to balance that. Okay, do I do this so I can win, or do I try to do it my own and I know I'll never get there?
Yeah.
And it revolves around God almighty dollar that they have to make, and the sports attorneys, and then this, and then that. I mean, what happened in the old days where you didn't have that, and these athletes were magnificent on their own. Today, they're compelled to use this because one has to be better than the other, and the other has to be better than the other.
And they have to break the next record.
I would rather be a loser but play the sport and enjoy it than to be a winner and to take something illegal.
But most of the athletes aren't in there for the fun of the sport. They're in there because they enjoy it. But exactly.
And they might want to make a living at doing what they love to do. And that's an honorable thing. However, I still don't know that drugs is the right way to get there.
No.
So, and how about you?
I don't think so. I really think that with the publicity, I think it's a great thing because I think that kids will know that it's wrong, and I think that it'll be used less and less. There are so many things that are negative for the person individually, both physically and mentally, about using these steroids that I think the more publicity there is, the better it is, because
so I think the media needs to stay on top of this.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
We can't just let it go because we can't let the kids, even adults, young adult men, we can't let them think it's okay, and they don't know some of the side effects of it.
Right.
You know, I've heard that just within a couple of weeks, somebody on some of the steroids, their personality changes.
Right. I think they said that there's more anger, hostility, aggressiveness, and then they'd go through physical things also that's not good for their body. Besides getting big, other things happen that are not good.
They don't even think about.
No, and
liver damage, kidney damage, all sorts of things that you know, when you're 17 years old, you absolutely don't think about things like that.
No, because you don't think it's going to happen to you. And I'll just do it a few times and get through school, and I'll do this and do that, and then there you go.
Okay, ladies. This time is just flying by.
It has.
Well, join us in a couple of minutes, and we'll be right back to close out the show.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. And now back to Just Between Us.
Hi, welcome back to Just Between Us. We had a lively conversation during the break. Well, ladies, was there anything else that you care to talk about?
Any
enjoyed the subjects that you like?
I like them all.
All of them were good today. I always say that, but they were very good. And of course, who was the love of your life? We all came out with the same one. If we're smart. I want to go be treated to dinner one night this week. or we missed the laundry a day. Oh, honey, I said you were my first love, my only love.
One of my biggest complaints is that we don't do enough date nights. You know, I don't have enough time with him, enough sharing with him. So that's kind of nice.
My daughter and her husband go on date nights. And I think that's really nice. My husband and I don't necessarily go on date nights. We feel like we're on a date all the time.
That's sweet.
Nice. You still have to do the laundry, Sharon.
I do. But he does dishes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. He scrubs toilets.
Oh.
He did that yesterday.
That's nice.
And that is like the best.
You betcha, you betcha. And then getting along with the coworker, that question, that was a good one too, because I think everybody that works, I don't work, but anyone that works full time, whether it's with your spouse or not, there's always not a conflict per se, but there's always something.
Well, you have to watch. I mean, just being around anybody else, you kind of have to watch yourself, and you have to monitor your behavior, and you don't want to be rude, and so you just have to be careful. I just wanted to say one of the loves of my life is one of my dogs. She's 13 years old. She's a golden retriever. And I think we're going to have her put to sleep today, and I'm devastated.
Oh, no.
Right.
Well, maybe you won't have to. Talk to the vet.
Yeah, maybe not, but she tore some ligaments in her leg a few years ago and had to have surgery, and I think she retore them, and she's too old to be put through the surgery again. So
well, maybe they can do something different.
I'm hoping.
But you know what? If it's the right time, it's a great kindness that you can do for them,
I know that.
And she'll let you know.
I know, but she feels good otherwise, so that's what makes it hard. If she was sick,
maybe there is something else.
I know. It's been a bad weekend.
Yeah.
Well, she just is a love.
Talk to the vet. Sometimes they will allow. They could do something else, and then give her some more time, and give you more time to make that decision.
Yeah. Gosh, you love pets. You just love them.
Yeah.
Your love of your life comes in many different forms.
Yeah.
Oh, my baby.
I know. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree for sure.
Well, ladies.
I think that's it. Is there anything else? Anybody?
It's been fun. My first experience. I enjoyed it.
It was wonderful having you.